What do you do when your business faces a decision so fuzzy that both choices feel morally valid, and yet neither feels entirely right? Maybe it's choosing whether to water down sustainability goals to appease investors, or deciding whether to pull the cord on a product that's legally safe, but might pose reputational risk. These are the dilemmas that make you feel like you're playing chess in the dark. Why this gray zone matters more than ever. In 2025, the ethical stakes for corporations have never been higher. Boards are expected to demonstrate climate competency, not just financial oversight, because climate litigation, biodiversity loss, and employee disengagement pose real fiduciary risks, not ideological fluff. Chief sustainability officers now sit at the strategy table, not in a corner with sustainability serving not as a compliance checkbox, but a long-term resilience engine. Meanwhile, clients, employees, investors, and even regulators expect radical transparency around ESG, AI, and supply chain ethics, watching companies like hawks on a wire. Truly, the age of fuzzy morals has given birth to sharply defined expectations. Building ethical infrastructure that works when no option feels perfect. Imagine ethics as your business's immune system. You can't see it until disaster strikes, and then you really wish it was there. More firms in 2025 are formalizing ethics codes, governance boards, and appointing ethics or AI ethics officers who are empowered, credible, and cross-functional. These are not ceremonial titles. They're your moral shock absorbers when dilemmas hit. Leading institutions like IMD and E&Y's ethics frameworks emphasize the difference between having a policy on paper and cultivating moral culture that can operationalize nuance day in and day out. Ethical frameworks. When the boardroom feels like a debate club with no judges, a structured ethics process saves sanity. Ethical frameworks in 2025 typically involve identifying stakeholders, gathering facts, evaluating consequences, considering alternatives, and justifying decisions transparently. This approach shifts the debate from gut feeling versus gut instinct to reasoned, documented choices. Organizations also run scenario simulations. Think role-playing future outcomes if media picks it apart, regulators probe, or consumers protest. Tools inspired by IEE's value-based engineering standard help embed ethical reflection into system and product design, making diverse stakeholder values part of technical specifications from day one. Engaging stakeholders. Talk to the critics, don't bunker up. Ethical dilemmas often escalate when companies fail to engage critics or affected communities. Eric Volgemuth of Future 500 advises that, rather than retreating under attack, companies should proactively build bridges, meet stakeholders in person, hold relational conversations, build trust quietly over time. In one case, with a forestry firm, a willingness to meet and listen led not only to conflict resolution, but to collaboratively developed sustainable sourcing standards. Sure, the result wasn't perfect, but it was real progress, and lawsuits never happened. Likewise, new governance models, like the 3I Justice Initiative from the Governance for Tomorrow project, champion inter- and intragenerational equity with marginalized voices, reinforcing that moral judgment needs more than boardroom charisma. It needs representation that's meaningful, not tokenistic. Behave like you mean it. Ethical leadership means leading with values, not just sales targets. Harvard's frameworks emphasize leaders making decisions for the common good, not just margin, and inspiring teams to do the same, especially as Gen Z becomes a major force in the workplace, demanding authenticity and transparency. According to Deloitte, 77% of Gen Z say working for a company whose values align with theirs is essential. And no, free pizza on Fridays doesn't count as a value. Meanwhile, compliance teams in 2025 are using AI tools to be predictive rather than reactive, spotting subtle issues in training gaps or behavioral patterns before they blossom into scandals. Think of it like having a sixth sense, but for bad decisions. Ethics training has gone beyond sit and watch a video. Employees now face interactive simulations, real scenarios, role-play exercises that build moral muscle and confidence when ambiguity hits. In fact, companies using immersive training tech report 60% higher retention of ethical decision-making concepts. Technology and AI. If technology is your assistant, ethics is the paragon it should follow. Governance of AI and digital systems must now include formal auditing and bias detection, not just for regulatory tick boxes, but to build trust with users and stakeholders. You wouldn't hire a CFO who doesn't understand numbers. Why unleash AI that can't explain itself? Recent academic frameworks propose multi-dimensional AI ethics systems built around transparency, human empowerment, and measurable stakeholder engagement, all backed by empirical frameworks like PEAAI and value-based engineering. The EU AI Act, passed in 2024, even mandates risk classification and documentation for high-impact systems because your chatbot shouldn't secretly be a rogue philosopher. Transparency also extends to explainable AI in customer-facing systems. When users understand why a decision was made, trust follows, and distrust subsides. Studies show that explainable systems improve user satisfaction scores by up to 45% because no one likes a black box, especially one deciding their mortgage. Whistleblowing and feedback loops. That work. No leader has a perfect vantage. That's why anonymous channels, hotlines, digital forms, escalation paths must be safe and fair. Recent ethics and compliance trends stress that whistleblower mechanisms should offer real protections and transparency in follow-up, not just empty assurance. After all, would you report a serious concern if it felt like dropping it into a black hole? The SEC's whistleblower program paid out over $600 million in 2023 alone, money well spent, considering the billions in prevented fraud. Companies like Siemens, which overhauled its whistleblowing mechanisms post-scandal, now use it as a case study in corporate redemption. When companies handle reports quietly, fairly, and visibly, they reinforce the belief that integrity isn't just a slogan, it's standard procedure. Bonus: employees who believe in fair reporting are 2.8 times more likely to stay loyal. Turns out, trust is the ultimate retention strategy. Transparency and reporting. In 2025, expecting companies to keep skeletons in the closet is naive. ESG disclosures, corporate sustainability reporting under the EU's Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, and digital responsibility frameworks are mandatory in many jurisdictions, and increasingly, the smart businesses lead with openness before stakeholders demand it. Companies like Unilever and IKEA now publish ESG decision trade-offs in their annual reports. Yes, even the ugly bits. Publishing reasoning, even when messy, signals confidence and maturity. Investors are listening. A 2024 PwC report found that 79% of investors consider ESG disclosures when deciding where to allocate funds. Firms that reconstruct dilemmas, show their decision-making logic, and communicate trade-offs transparently build credibility and guard against reputational blowback when ambiguity surfaces later. Or as one CEO quipped at Davos, "If you're going to screw up, narrate it well." Learning and growing. One-time training or static code is like airing your room once and calling it clean forever. Ethical maturity demands continuous reflection. After any tough decision, conduct an ethical after-action review. What assumptions failed? What blind spots appeared? Who felt unheard? Ethical dilemmas are case studies in real time. Capture those lessons, update policies, adapt training, and share internally or within peer networks to raise collective resilience. Thoughtful documentation becomes your library of moral decisions. Why all this matters? Some firms still treat ethics as PR optics. In 2025, that's old thinking. Shareholder primacy is being challenged. Patagonia and Brunello Cucinelli embed social and environmental goals into governance itself, while B Corp models compel companies legally to consider stakeholders beyond shareholders, even under pressure. Regulators expect boards to integrate ESG into decisions, not those things you tack on later. Business resilience today is built by leaders who treat sustainability, ethics, and stakeholder trust as strategic assets, not compliance chores. And that's a wrap on navigating ethical dilemmas when the answer isn't black or white, but more like 50 shades of corporate gray. If you found this helpful, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe.